it's my pleasure to represent Red Carpet. Spent almost 20 years in Israel. Would you welcome Melissa Wilson?
Good morning. The presence of God is amazing, and his mercies are new every morning. I'm so amazed. You know, it's just like yesterday was amazing, but today he's already working in a new way, right? Yes. So good. Okay, good. Thank you. Yeah, it's great to have people like these guys who are doing technology, right? Keeping the PowerPoints, the sound, everything. Thank you, guys. It is my privilege to be here and to speak to you on behalf of this amazing ministry that I got to serve with for 3 years in Israel, the last 3 years that we lived there. We just moved back to the States in November. But Abundant Life, Chaim V'Shefa, was started by Anat and her husband, Ishai, over 20 years ago. And John 10:10 was their main inspiration for this. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy, but we know that Jesus says, I have come that they might have life and have it abundantly. And not only do we want that for our children, but we want that for other people's children as well. And the Lord gave Anat and Ishai this amazing vision to minister to broken and vulnerable women in different ways. And one of the ways, there's actually, sorry, I'm learning how to do this. Let's see. I forgot to turn it on. Sorry, I'm new at this. Okay. There we go. Okay. So Abundant Life has 2 branches. One is the pro-life, Letzadech. It's by your side. And this is how they began. They had been working with a different organization, and then the Lord put it on their heart to do pro-life ministry, but in a different way, actually in their home. So they actually hosted pregnant women in their home, and they ate with them, and they did life with them. And there was one time where they were actually having 3 generations in their home. They had the mother who was pregnant, and then she had her baby while she lived with them, but also her mother lived with them. And, you know, God is in the business of restoring families. And this is exactly what they saw as they ministered to women who wanted to keep their babies, but needed help and needed support. And from the beginning almost, God also gave them this vision to also help women who were stuck in prostitution. And so Hashatiach Hadam, or Red Carpet, was also born out of Abundant Life Ministries. And so for many years, about 6 or 7 years, they were hosting women in their homes, and they were saving babies. And these are some of the babies that were saved. Yeah, the Lord is good. I mean, these are souls. They're alive today because they obeyed God. They said yes to God. And they would also, give them baby equipment because, with babies, you need stuff like strollers and baby carriers, all the things. So whatever they received, they gave. That's how it works. And just a second. So at some point, they had this desire to, we'll go back, pray for women caught in trafficking from the very beginning. And they had been reading a book about Natasha, it was a story of a woman who had been caught in trafficking and she escaped. And so as they were praying, a social worker found out the work they were doing with babies and contacted Anat and said, I have a woman who was trafficked from Uzbekistan. She's pregnant and she wants to keep her baby. Will you help her? And so they went to see what's happening in Tel Aviv, and they saw that there were so many women caught in prostitution. and they saw how desperate they were. They saw drug addicts at the old bus station, just like even with like needles in their arms, and there wasn't really anybody reaching out to them. And so they began to reach out. But in that moment when they went because there was a need. There was a person who needed help. And so they went. And when they went, they saw. And Anat couldn't believe the amount of prostitution that was happening in Israel. And to be honest, all over the world, not just women, but men and children are also being trafficked. But in Israel, these are some of the statistics about prostitution. It's mostly women and mostly mothers. And even from a young age, they may enter in, as a teenager. But most of the women that end up in the south part of Tel Aviv, this is like the bottom of the barrel. This is like after they've been maybe in prostitution and on drugs for a while, this is like the end. After they leave that area, it's either death or rehab. And so the red carpet is ministering in that place. But a lot of trauma, a lot of violence. And so as they saw the need there, they were already ministering to I'm going to back up a little bit. They were ministering to the babies, but then they wanted to reach out to the women. So Anat and her friends would make food and go and visit the women and just love on them every week, just taking food, taking water. And then they saw they need bandages. So they would take basic first aid and do that. And after some years of weekly outreaches, there was a lady who needed a pedicure, and they saw she needed a pedicure. And so they gave her a pedicure. And I'm going to let you, yeah. And then a place opened up, a little tiny place, but big enough that they could give pedicures. And so they took it, and it was free. And even though it was small, like free rent in Tel Aviv is like, whoo, that's a miracle because it's so expensive. And so they used that space until it was no longer available. And then the Lord opened a new space to rent a bigger space. But it's like in each step, there was a need. They saw the need. They said yes to the Lord and yes to serve. And as they loved people, they began to trust them. And it opened the door for more relationships and for the Lord to work. And what's amazing about the red carpet, which now is like a full center, it's a women's day center. It started with pedicures, and so there continues to be manicures and pedicures there, and there's also other stations that where we give food, we give coffee. Everybody likes a nice cup of coffee, so we have a coffee station. But we give a nice warm meal. We also give them towels and shampoo to take a shower. And they really love that because they don't have access to a shower. So they really love that. We also had 2 beds where they can take a nap and rest. And we have a massage table, and someone can give them massage. And touch is really precious because any kind of touch, most of the touch they receive, it's not good. And so they're very sensitive to touch. But wholesome touch can be restorative and healing, whether it's in the nail salon or the hair salon, or it doesn't matter. Like everything we did, we needed to be sensitive to them, but also we can see that Jesus would bring healing. The nail station was my station. In 2022, I started there, and when I first went, I didn't know where I would be. I thought maybe it would be the kitchen, but I quickly saw the nail station is where they would sit and where they would open their hearts. And I was like, that's my place. And no one was there at that time. So it became my station. And I even took a course. Actually, it was in Hebrew, and so it was really good for my Hebrew. Yeah, it was great. I know more about nails in Hebrew than I know in English. So funny. I'm like, what's that thing that does the, Yeah, anyway, it's funny. But I got to wash people's feet like Jesus. And, it's so amazing because these women are so broken. And I say women, but we also had many trans men that identified as women. And all of them, such brokenness, almost so many of them abused by people in their own family and just discarded, as if they're not even human, like trash, But the Lord said, no. I have a purpose for them. I love them. I want to restore their dignity. I want to restore their life. And so as they sit, I would work on their nails and pray and listen. And often they would tell me their trauma, how they got to the streets or what happened that week. And I called it trauma triage because while I'm sitting there, I just see Jesus walking into the room and ministering to them in their brokenness. And so amazingly, it was just like he would just touch them. And it gave me permission to let him minister to me and mine. And, I think when you're in ministry, I think sometimes you don't want to show your brokenness because people expect you to not have that. Which I don't know why we expect that because we're all human, but there is that. And he did so much healing in my own life. It was amazing. Okay, I have to tell this story. I wasn't planning on telling it, but yeah. So the picture of the woman who's getting the manicure, that's me sitting there with her. When I was giving her a manicure, and she also was going to get a pedicure. She had her feet in water, and she got up to go wash her hands. And when she came back, she forgot that there was water there, and she knocked the bucket over. And the water just went everywhere. And she and I just started laughing. And I don't know, it was just this really precious moment. And it just made me think of the scripture, that rivers of living water will flow from the heart of those who believe. And yeah, it just felt like such a healing ministry moment to just laugh with her. Precious. And this is Anat on the left, and she loves to minister to the homeless women with their hair and to remove the knots that they have in their hair. There was this one lady who had not been to the red carpet, but she would see her on the streets, and she would always invite her to come and let her do her hair. And finally, one day, I was there whenever the lady came in, and she got to minister to her. And it was so precious. I mean, we were all just like holding back tears because her hair was so knotted up, and it was such a mess. But Anat just got to help her take that off. And she was just radiant after. She took a shower, and she was just radiant after. It was so amazing to see the love of God just transform her. And she left, like a new person. And then she kept coming back. Yeah. And we also give clothes. And we have a stylist there, and she's really gifted. She just looks at them, and she knows their size, and she learns their style. And it's a very prophetic thing. She'll just give them a certain outfit or, for each person. And there was one time where this very small, petite woman came in with almost no clothes, and she found this beautiful dress for her, and it was just so sweet, that Jesus is clothing them in his righteousness. And we have a wonderful man who cooks for us every week. He's a pastor, and he just loves to cook, and he loves to serve, and he blesses us with food. And we have opportunities to bandage them. They have a lot of open wounds. Sometimes it's a little bit hard for my gag reflexes, as I would also do that. When we didn't have a nurse, I would be the one bandaging, and wow, it could be really bad. I mean, when you're living on the streets, you can get wounded and sick from all kinds of things. And, you know, there was days, we had these 2 beds, just 2, but they don't mind that they're close together. But there are days whenever, I don't know, it's just like, there's just like a spirit of peace on the place. And they'll all be asleep. They'll be asleep at the nail station. They'll be asleep at the hair station. They'll be asleep at the massage table. They'll be asleep they'll even be asleep at the table. And it's like, oh, this is nice. Thank you, Lord. And massage. We have this massage table, so we get to minister to them. And praying with them is just so precious. I actually got to go to Haifa and look for places with Anat. We went, we prayed, we met with different people, and I got to pray over this place with her. But they found a new place in Haifa, and it's being renovated right now. I don't know if you can see it, but there's one picture where there's like a manicure thing. That's our location. And I just thought, how sweet that the Lord just clearly marked it for us, you know. This is the place. It's supposed to be open this summer. So we'll see, because, you know, they're having some really intense war right now. But when the war was not so intense before 25 days ago, they were doing outreaches in Haifa to just begin to get to know the people. Like we started in Tel Aviv with outreaches, starting in Haifa also, to go out on the streets, to meet them where they are, to bring food, to make relationships, because building trust with people who've been wounded takes time. And they really need to know that you're just there with no agenda, but to love them. And it softens their hearts. I just want to thank you guys, because you have been standing with the red carpet for many years, and I know that you love Anat, and thank you for welcoming me. You're a wonderful host, and thank you guys for being here, and thank you to this church for doing what you're doing, because you're blessing so many people all around the world. And if you guys want to be connected with Abundant Life Ministries, you can just go to that QR code. It'll take you to the website. And you can sign up for a newsletter and be connected. So that's it. Thank you. Yeah.